I don't want to get cancelled. Hello! Welcome back to my channel. Today we are exploring the topic of the Heyoka Empath INFJ. We will be looking at what apparently a Heyoka INFJ is and the signs that you might be one, but we'll also be deep diving into the controversial issue surrounding this and whether or not it's culturally inappropriate to call yourself one. Okay, let's get into it. Let's dive in. So I'm Sam. I'm an online counselor to INFJs, to introverts, to empaths, to people who feel like they don't quite fit into society, and neurodivergent people. In my last video, I received a comment from Sassy I love that name. They wrote,
I'm an Heyoka INFJ. I like the label because it helps me to understand myself better. I've always been an outcast. Learning about INFJs helped me feel less alone in a spiritual sense.
So I completely agree with this sentiment. If you've been watching me for a while, you would know that I don't necessarily like labels. I don't necessarily like putting a label on people. But when you have felt like a misfit for most of your life and like you just don't quite fit in, then when you read a profile, a personality profile, or like human design, or just anything like that, it can be a huge moment for a person like that, and it can make them feel like, that makes sense. And in a way it's almost like, it just makes you feel better. So with the rest of the video, I just want to show my full respect to Sassy and sorry, every time I say the name it makes me laugh. And when we get to the end of the video, when we do talk about the controversy around this word Heyoka, please stick to the end of the video so that you can hear that, because I think it's really, really important that we talk about this. I just want to say that I completely respect Sassy, and we are all humans who are learning and growing, and we don't know what we don't know. When I read that comment, that was the first time that I had actually heard of a Heyoka INFJ. I read it when I first woke up in the morning, and the first thing I thought of was Hakuna Matata. I read it as Hakuna. Hakuna Matata, what a wonderful phrase. And then I had that song stuck in my head all day. Hakuna Matata. So let's talk about what people say the signs of a Heyoka are. And then we will talk about where that terminology came from. And thank you to Norman for pointing this out to me to do the research. Then we'll have a discussion on if this is an appropriate term for a white person to use. So according to the internet, a Heyoka is a true empath. They say that the Heyoka is the most powerful empath that there is. And when I say they, I don't actually know who they is. They say that the Heyoka Empath INFJ, they can see through the absolute bullshit of people, and they can see when people aren't being genuine. Now, for me, I feel like that has always been the case for my life, even when I was a child. You can kind of like pick up on the subtle cues and body language and like the flicker of the eyes or facial expressions when people are sharing. The Heyoka Empath INFJ, they act as a mirror for others. So you're like a mirror, and this can be very intimidating for some people. For others, it's a great thing, and it can help that person to shift their perspective. I think in counseling, which, as you know, I'm a counselor, we can act like a mirror for others. So sometimes somebody could be sharing a story with me, and I will mirror back that story. I will summarize it in a way that makes them go, I didn't realize that. And I have to remind the person that I'm not telling them that this is this is the case, but I'm just mirroring what they have told me. I'm just telling them back what they've already said so that they realize it comes from them and not from me, because as a counselor, we don't tell you what to do. The Heyoka, and oh my gosh, what I'm about to say, this really like spoke to me. The Heyoka uses humor to help heal a person. Now, when I read that, I was like, oh my goodness, am I a Heyoka? Because ever since I was a kid, I have just loved using humor. The problem is, and maybe this is your experience too, so please let me know in the comments if this is your experience, if you like resonate with the Heyoka-ness of humour. I was never taken seriously as a child, as a teenager, as someone in my early 20s. I was not taken seriously. I was seen as like a complete idiot to a lot of people, except for the people that truly know me. The people that truly knew me and got to know me could see my old soul and my wisdom, and they respected what I had to say. But because I was the class clown and I always got in trouble for talking too much or just doing really silly, ridiculous things, I would always get after school detentions. I was just the clown and I loved that. And even now in therapy sessions, and I'm a bit nervous to share this part of me, in therapy sessions, I do like to use humour in the session. Of course, when I say that, I mean that in a very appropriate way. And the Heyoka, apparently from what I've read, before we get into the controversial part of it, does use humour not to offend, but to heal. And I have found that when I've used humour in the right way, in the right timing, in the right moments, with the right clients, that humour helps them to shift perspective, it lightens the load, and it brings an element of healing. Now, I'm not saying I'm funny. You probably think I'm just like, bleh. The Heyoka also has a creative spark, so they think outside of the box, they think differently, they give a different perspective, they're creative, they're artists. And again, for me, this is why I love doing YouTube, because I love my therapy sessions with my clients so much. It gives me so much joy, but I also need to allow that creative part of me to come out as well, which I do through my YouTube videos and my YouTube editing. Let me know in the comments how you use your creative spark. What is your creative spark? Is it painting flower pots? That's the first thing that came to my mind. The Heyoka, apparently, can ask the awkward questions that nobody else wants to ask, the uncomfortable questions, to help shift a person's perspective. Again, I've seen this true in my life. A lot of my friendships come from this, in that in the first few conversations, I just can't help myself and the awkward questions come out. And I guess that helps in therapy, because for some people, therapy can be awkward to talk about themselves and talk about what's going on. But when somebody can ask those uncomfortable questions, but can ask it in a way that makes you feel loved and accepted and just like loved for who you are no matter what you're going through, then that is a really powerful thing. The Heyoka has a quick wit and they're funny as fuck. So I don't know if I'm funny. My husband thinks I'm hilarious, but you know, other people think I'm a little weird. The Heyoka INFJ find that people are drawn to them. The Heyoka INFJ can come across like an old soul, like you've been here before, like you know things. The Heyoka INFJ is a misfit, the odd one out. They don't fit in, and they actually don't care to fit in. They don't have any desire to be what society expects them to be. If you were in school as a misfit and you're a Heyoka, I believe that you wouldn't even have cared to be accepted by your peers, because you just know, you can just see deeper than that after school, it's gonna be all okay and you will find your people. And the Heyoka INFJ, they take care of others before they'll even take care of themselves. And I mean, that's true for, I think, just INFJs and empaths in general. And we need to learn to take care of ourselves as well, so that we can continue caring for others. So, what is the controversy around the word being a Heyoka INFJ? I did a lot of deep reading into this. You can look at some Reddit forums, and there are some people on Reddit who are really upset with people when they use the word Heyoka. Now, you would know that when I've read comments about what people think about INFJs calling themselves an INFJ, I'm just like, dude, like, relax. It's not the end of the world for someone to identify as an INFJ, am I right? But with the Heyoka, this is another topic, because I'm nervous. So Heyoka comes from the culture of Sioux, which is the Lakota and Dakota people of the Great Plains in North America. Now, I want to make it very clear that I don't really have much understanding of this culture, and I don't have much knowledge about this culture, so I don't want to put my foot in it and say things that are wrong or speak on behalf of that culture. So I'm hoping that if that is you, if you are a Sioux person, and apologies if I'm not pronouncing it right, please let me know in the comments. So as you can see, I'm white. I'm a white girl from Australia. I live in Gubbi Gubbi country, which is one of the hundreds of Indigenous countries in Australia. So when I learn about Indigenous cultures, I learn about the Gubbi Gubbi people and also the Wurundjeri people, which is where I was born. Heyoka in this culture actually means sacred clown. And so that's where the whole like Heyokas are humorous and use humor to heal. Basically, they were known as the eccentric shaman in a tribe's society. And the Heyoka people, they were given the freedom to express themselves however they wanted. So essentially their tribe, they accepted them for being different and for being eccentric and being out of the norm, which is just so lovely because how many people are not accepted in today's society based on who they are and how they present themselves, right? The Heyoka was considered to be a spiritual calling. So it was a spiritual position within the tribe. And they were known as like the trickster, and they were honored for this, and they were loved for this. They were loved for the humor and for who they were. The thing is, the Heyoka, this was not a self-appointed position. This was appointed by the tribal leader. So my issue with labeling oneself as a Heyoka is the cultural appropriation of this term, because it doesn't belong to us. I mean, unless it does belong to you, then cool. But for me as a white person, that term, it doesn't belong to us. It's not our term to use. Even though I relate to many of the traits of what they say is a Heyoka Empath or INFJ, I just would feel very uncomfortable in labeling myself as that. My understanding is this is a word that belongs to the Sioux people. And in their tribal traditions, to be a Heyoka, this was appointed by the tribal leader. I have the same discomfort as well when white people on the internet in like their businesses or whatever in their communities, they call themselves a tribe, like, hey tribe, and I just think, I don't know, I don't think that is a word that we can use as white people, right? So again, if you are a Sioux person, I would love to hear your take on this. And again, no disrespect for those who have read and watched videos on what a Heyoka Empath or INFJ is. Again, we don't know what we don't know. I didn't know what a Heyoka was, and I learnt because I did some research and did some reading. Can I recommend that the next video that you watch would be my one on why you're not really an empath? Please don't cancel me. But yeah, watch this video on why you're not really an empath, and we explore what an empath is and why I don't think you're actually one. Okay, so I'll talk to you soon. Again, leave me some comments because I love responding to them. Have a good day. Bye. And if this is the sort of content that you like, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, know that I will be eternally grateful to you. And of course, a special shout out to Norman, to Sarah, to Hope, to this person called John Doe, whose also name is Peace something something. I appreciate you all so much, and I just love hearing from you.